Welcome to Motors and Medicine. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about Norovirus. Now, this particular virus is super common, and I'm going to be talking about the 2023 strain that's been going around. So first things first, what exactly is Norovirus? Basically, it's just a very contagious, fecally, orally transmitted virus, which basically means that it can be transmitted from person to person, contaminated surface, contaminated foods, and then if you happen to, say, use the bathroom and not wash your hands, touch food, contaminate it, shake hands with somebody else, that's where the whole fecal-oral transmission rate comes from. But basically, norovirus, it's a real pesky virus because it infects people on a very regular basis, super contagious. It doesn't take much to cause a good, strong infection. When it does, people get sick with a number of symptoms that I'll go over very quickly, very short period of time. So let's start at the beginning here. So the typical incubation period for norovirus is about 2 to 3 days, sometimes less, depending on how aggressive the strain is. When it does get it, within your alimentary system, it literally will create problems from your stomach all the way down to the lower intestines, which is why the majority of the symptoms, which I will go over now, start with really bad stomach pain, cramping, nausea, vomiting, and then of course diarrhea. It's very, very aggressive. It's extremely fast in how it gets through your system. Generally speaking, if you get infected with norovirus, you're going to be sick for probably 2, maybe 3 days. But when it hits you, it is extremely violent and aggressive. The 2023 strain has been very aggressive and fairly violent, causing a lot of vomiting. Heavier on the vomiting than the diarrhea, but it has been causing both. This year, back in January, I myself and my family came down with norovirus, and I was really surprised how aggressive it was. I've had it in the past. Most people will pick up norovirus, and one key note here is that a lot of people believe that, say they go out to eat and they got sick from food and it was food poisoning. The reality is that most of the time, it's not food poisoning. Most of the time, it's norovirus or some similar virus to norovirus. Especially if you get sick and you're the only one that's sick who goes out to eat with a group of people, you all eat the same foods, or you go out to somebody's house and everybody eats the same foods and only one person gets sick, that's not usually food poisoning. Most of the time, that's either norovirus or some other similar virus to norovirus. Now, how do we prevent the virus? Well, typically, you want to be washing your hands thoroughly. If you start to feel symptoms come on and you do get sick, obviously avoid contact with other people, avoid preparing food for other people, and wait at least a couple of days before you interact with a lot of people and or prepare food for those people. As far as managing the symptoms, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, this is an alimentary canal virus, which causes all the typical symptoms. Anti-nausea agents, anti-diarrhea agents will all help, but the reality is that there's no stopping the aggressiveness or the violence of norovirus. You will vomit, you will have diarrhea, combination thereof. The pain is pretty unbearable, but it's very short-lived. It usually passes through the system within 2 to 3 days, and then you're back up on your feet, getting around without too many issues. So key points here are it's spread person to person through fecal-oral transmission, as well as contaminated foods. So obviously those are the things that you need to watch out for. Wash your hands thoroughly, of course, after you use the restroom, and wash your hands before handling food. And then if you do, like I said, get infected, there's a number of management strategies, from anti-nauseas to anti-diarrhea agents, over-the-counter agents like ibuprofen or Tylenol for some of the aches and pains that you'll get, because you will get a little bit of body ache and headache from it as well. But the reality is, This virus is very short-lived. It tends to be in that classification of a 24-hour bug, if you want to call it that. But make no mistake, norovirus, especially in a population of older folks or people who are, say, immunocompromised, it can be extremely devastating. So just keep in mind here, you want to try to keep the spread down to a minimum. If you happen to get sick or infected, keep your hands clean, wash your hands often, don't prepare food if you've been sick, don't get around people if you've been sick, wait a couple of days. And then beyond that, just know that it is a very quick and fast acting virus. It'll be in and out of your system in a very short period of time. So you have to maintain good hygiene, good hand washing, and unfortunately, if you do get infected, just deal with it for 2-3 days if that's the case. In my case, when I had it back in January, I was sick for about 2 days. Unfortunately, it hit me while I was at work, so it was very uncomfortable, and actually I had to call somebody in to come cover for me because I was so sick. I couldn't stop vomiting at work, so it was very unpleasant. But it's not something that you can try to suppress, because the virus is so aggressive that as soon as it hits your alimentary canal, as soon as it gets into your stomach, small intestine, and then just gets into the larger colon, you start having all kinds of inflammation, which will upset your GI tract and cause all those symptoms to occur. So on a final note, just keep in mind that this virus is very contagious. It happens to just about everybody. Most people will be contaminated with this at one point or another throughout the year, at least once. But norovirus just doesn't sleep. It doesn't take a break. It doesn't take any vacations. It's around all the time. So now, especially that we're not really wearing masks anymore and we're around people again, just keep that in mind and help to stop the spread of the norovirus. So hopefully this information was helpful for you guys. Again, like always, please hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button if you like the content. And then on the next video, we're going to get into some more car coverage. And I think I'm going to be talking about some Bronco information. So hopefully you guys have a good one. And this is Motors and Medicine signing off. Thanks.